Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a sing-along to scream-along edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party.
Monster Party. Monster Party when the wind comes sweeping down the hearse.
Monster Party.
All right. Wow.
Party.
So none of us can sing. We've cleared that up.
Hey.
Perfect.
Music is a very, very important part of this episode. But before we get our toes a tappin', I am Matt Weinhold.
I am SHAWN SHERIDAN.
I'm a tappin' Larry STROTHE.
And I'm James Gonis.
Woohoo.
And for this episode, we know how much James loves the soundtracks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And
I
me
love
too.
the soundtrack.
He loves
We all
them,
do.
and Sean loves them too. And a lot of people love them. I certainly enjoy them.
I love them.
And so we got 3 loves and 1 enjoy. And I think we're going to have even more loves. For this episode, since we already did a soundtracks episode, and it was an epic one, and it was a historic one, because it was the last episode that we did live at Monster Party headquarters.
Yes.
Right.
Pre-pandemic, or as the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So now we are revisiting this topic, but with a slight twist. And so the topic
It's
for
bird
this
flu.
It's bird flu, right? We're going to be looking at all our favorite bird flu movies, and it's a thriving genre. But the topic for this evening is soundtracks, the songs.
Soundtrack.
The songs. Because, a lot of soundtracks are orchestral.
Yes.
And there's no singing involved. But some movies, and we're not talking about musicals, just let me clear that up right off the bat here. We're not talking about where people break into song. We're talking about a movie that maybe has a featured song in it. Or maybe 2 or something like that.
Or a
But
main
not-
title song, maybe.
A main title song, exactly, but not wall-to-wall music.
Yeah, I thought we were doing like 2 hours of Repo the musical. This is not that show.
Oh, who is this mystery voice?
Yes. Who is this mystery guest speaking?
Well, we're privileged to have the same guest that we had on for our soundtracks episode.
All right.
What? He's
Yes.
still alive.
He's really the only
Early.
guest we can have on for shows like this.
Yes.
Yes.
He began his career as a journalist, writing for magazines like Fangoria, Cinefantastique, and Horror Fan. He's since worked in promotions at Full Moon Entertainment. He's even acted in several films, such as Bubba Hotep, Phantasm Ravager, Free Enterprise, and Happy Horror Days. But his area of expertise is film music. He's written liner notes for over 100 soundtrack CDs.
Over 100.
And for the last several years, he's been interviewing film composers for his webcast, Film Music Live. Guys, let's welcome back to the show our good friend Daniel Schweiger.
Daniel
Schweiger. Daniel
You God bless you guys. I'm happy to be here, but actually my profession is collecting mold spores and fungus.
You too?
Occasional soundtrack stuff.
What's interesting is that I take molds and funguses. And man, does it make me happy.
You are Mr. Music.
Yes,
Okay,
indeed.
Yes. You're an authority.
I'm gonna throw to Sean for $50. What is the no, I'm sorry. What's my line? Way before your
No, we don't play that here. Come on.
So to start us off, Daniel, let me ask you, what is your go-to? What is like maybe one of your favorite soundtrack songs or songs from a movie or TV show?
Oh my God.
Great question.
Now
Yeah.
I totally suck because I'm Mr. like score guy, but I totally love songs. I just went to see ELO recently. Big big
Yes.
super fan of X. I've seen X like 25 times. One that jumps right up me is the Sinead O'Connor the put your arms there on me. The thing from Nightmare 4. I absolutely love that. That's a great soundtrack.
Oh.
And
By
that
Sinead O'Connor, huh?
So Nightmare on Elm Street 4?
4,
Is that Dream Child?
really a pretty damn great rock and roll soundtrack. Was Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I Want Your Hands on Me.
Well, Sinead, as the years go by, I appreciate her more and more. Her voice is so unique and angelic, but with a real force behind it. I hate the singing where it's like someone's almost gasping for air.
Right.
Yeah, it's cursive singing.
Yeah.
And that was the point in the franchise of the Elm Street films where they really were embracing all kinds of pop culture and putting lots of rock songs and different things in there. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
were there any like songs in the first Elm Street? I don't think so, right? It was just
Maybe
a
in the
creepy score.
Unforgettable Pool Party there in number 2, there was something playing in the background.
That's right. Yeah. but other than, the only song really in the first Elm Street was the 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, like a little nursery rhyme.
No, I believe there is
kind of a song.
Is there, in Nightmare. There is an.
Is there? I'm trying to think what it was, but yeah. But by the time you get to that part 4, yeah, you had kind of like Alice Cooper doing the song for one of the later Friday the 13th songs.
Well, wait a minute now. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Little Nightmares is the song at the end of the first.
Oh, okay.
But Nightmare on Elm Street 3 features a song by the metal band Dokken.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I use metal band to describe Dokken kind of lightly. It says in Wikipedia it calls them heavy metal. I would not call them that, but I do like Dokken actually.
Yeah.
And the song was called Dream Warriors, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
What are the odds that there'd be a movie called Dream Warrior, and then Dokken writes a song? You had to hire him.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was Alice Cooper wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, right? For Friday the 13th, part 6, maybe? I think it was.
Again, all this stuff I'd have to.
No, I don't think so, because I think there was another one with Alice Cooper.
Trick or Treat?
Well, Trick or Treat has a bunch of music in it too.
Yeah,
No.
Trick or Treat's awesome.
Friday the 13th, part 6 has Alice Cooper, and it's He's Back, the man behind the mask.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's right.
It's from the Constrictor album. And by the way, this is not my favorite period for Alice Cooper. It's when he's getting kind of synth and he's
more popish.
Yeah, well, and he's trying to flirt with new wave, as you would call it, I guess.
Right.
But I'm not crazy about the song. And there are other songs in that film as well. There's I'm No Animal by Felony, which
okay.
I don't remember. And then I guess Teenage Frankenstein is another song from the Constrictor album by Alice Cooper that's in there. So
okay.
Well, I mean, for me, I think, one movie where I really started to notice songs and horror is Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You're
AC/DC.
kidding.
DC songs.
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Because like Stephen King loved heavy metal, he like handpicked all these songs he wanted to use. Right, that's right.
But wasn't it kind of like
AC/DC.
doing a lot of, reefer
Cocaine.
or something during that
Cocaine.
time, James?
Cocaine.
Oh,
Yeah, get it right. Get it right. It's cocaine.
sorry.
And the soundtrack for Maximum Overdrive, you could say a lot of things about cocaine, but in this one instance, if it did anything to help him choose the music for the film, I'm all on board.
Well, it's just the whole movie is about attitude. I mean, it's like it's
Yes.
a goofy film, but it's really a punk attitude through that. It's just, it doesn't give a shit. And that's why the metal works so well in that movie. Especially also you've got Emilio and you've got the kind of Repo Man,
Right.
Thing going on there. So again, it's like all these great metal songs.
Matt, is that why you like it? Because it's kind of punk. You were like, Mr. Punk.
Well, this is not. These are more metal songs, not punk. But I'll tell you, I will say that I do like this film much more now than when it first came out.
It's a fun party movie.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen it, Larry?
When you sit there with your popcorn and your sandwich and your drink,
Look,
and you
Exactly.
Listen, you. You know what? If you're gonna go and like defend Avatar with your popcorn and your,
that's a great movie.
and your diet root beer or whatever the fuck you drink, then you have to be able to watch this, because this is, I think Sean was saying, it's a party movie, and
Yeah. It did not do well at the time. It was a bomb. He was chastised for making this. Stephen King trying to direct his own movie, but it had, like many things, it has since become a cult film that people have gone back to.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a great movie or even a good movie, but it's a fun movie.
Yes,
it's a fun bad movie.
It's a fun bad movie,
which Stephen King himself would admit to.
Right.
Yeah,
that's all he set out to do, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
and just for who made who, I mean, come on.
I mean, if you guys really want to go back to probably the game, and it's not a vocal song, but it is a song, is Tubular Bells from The Exorcist.
It's on my list.
Absolutely.
On my list.
And that to me is the game changer.
It's so funny, Daniel. I think I mentioned this on the last one, but I went to private school and as a kid, and whenever that tune came on, this is like 74, my older brother, because he always had the radio on, he had to turn it off. And I said, "Well, what? That music's so neat." He goes, "Oh, Larry, no, we can't listen to this. This is like devil music or something like that."
Well, I think it's funny that so many people still think that was written for the movie, right? Yeah. And it wasn't. It was an amazing album by Mike Oldfield. But I also read that because later Friedkin used Tangerine Dream for Sorcerer.
Oh yeah,
and I remember, at least on the liner notes, I think is a little interview with Friedkin saying if he had heard Tangerine Dream when he was making The Exorcist, he would have used them. Really interesting. But I'm glad he used Mike Oldfield on Tubular Bells. But Sorcerer is a fantastic score to a very strange, surreal.
It's an amazing,
cool movie.
I love that movie.
Yes, it's a fantastic movie and very underrated.
That wasn't scored to film. I mean, basically, Tangerine Dream wrote that score and then he put it in the film. It wasn't like film.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
I did not know this.
And Lalo Schifrin had written the score for The Exorcist originally, right? And then he tossed that out.
Lost it, according to urban legend.
Dun, 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 dun,
James,
dun.
didn't you say if you wanted to hear that original Exorcist music, you could?
It's been released.
Film Store Monthly put it out.
So
interesting.
It's called, excommunicated from The Exorcist. Here's the music. That kind
Exorcised.
of thing. Oh.
Wow, I'd be interested. I mean, I love Schifrin too.
But
He's
James,
amazing.
have you heard it? Is it cool? Is it creepy?
It's okay. I mean, it's movie music. He didn't want movie music.
Right. You wanted something very different.
Dun, 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 dun. Father Karras. Father Karras.
When you say movie music, I mean, was it do?
No, it was like Bar
I think I just did that
It was very completely abstract. It's not something you put on for easy listening. I'm sure it would have worked in the film.
Right.
Alex North's music for 2001 would have worked in the film, but like Kubrick, Friedkin, kind of picked from source material.
Right.
That's
to find the right mood.
And it works brilliantly. No amazing Lalo Schifrin.
The first song that came to my mind when this topic was brought up, and I think Sean might agree with me, and maybe even James, The Green Slime.
Sure.
Yes.
Talking about toe tappers, right?
Oh,
and
what a great tune.
Did you look up, I looked up also...
But before that, the words keep getting stuck in my mouth from more games.
Stuck in your throat.
Throat.
Come on.
And then they get stuck in your mouth.
The words get stuck in my
throat.
Hamilton.
Can we just give some credit to the other song first before we jump down your throat? I mean, Green Slime.
Green Slime.
And the funny
Charles Fox.
The funny thing about that music, Matt, you would think that, I wouldn't like it, but it really set the tone for me. It was outer space, Japanese horror.
It's the
film
60s vibe too.
Yeah,
I think that's why it works. It's that 60s groovy vibe that
nobody did groovy as well as Charles Fox, but in his autobiography he denigrates it. He's like, I can't believe I wrote a song for a movie called The Green Slime. I don't even know if he saw the movie, but it was
the
really
lyrics-
disappointing.
The lyrics are so profound. What can it be? What is the reason? Is this the end to all the seasons? Is this just something in your head? Would you believe it when you're dead? You'll believe it when you find something screaming across your mind. Green slime.
Those words
And
are
scene.
poetic.
But James, did you? Because I had looked up this.
Those are marriage vows.
The guys who actually sang the song, though, was somebody named Richard Delvey, who was like a surf music pioneer.
Yes, yeah.
Which I did not know. I mean, I knew that Charles Fox wrote it, but this Richard Delvey actually performed it. So,
Well,
but
Fox,
yeah, I mean,
Fox didn't usually write the lyrics either. Usually someone else like Paul Williams or Norman Gimbel, usually. But
it's great. It's fantastic.
I didn't know that he was responsible.
Which is my favorite.
Barbarella. I love
Barbarella.
Those
Yeah,
songs.
right.
I memorized those songs.
I love the whole entire soundtrack of Barbarella, the songs and all the music in general.
Puffin Stuff. Puffin Stuff is fantastic.
The movie Puffin Stuff.
Let's not jump ahead, though. Talk about Barbarella.
Can we give Green Slime its due?
I think we just did.
We did.
Things that we want to do, and Sean, I know you want to jump on this, but let's just concentrate on Green Slime for a moment because it's such a great.
Let's concentrate.
Tune.
All right, we're done. Now, there's a connection with Barbarella and Green Slime. They're both by Charles Fox. And with Barbarella, as you guys were saying, all the songs are amazing. And An Angel Is Love is probably the one I rock out to the most because I love it when the music break comes in and he does that little thing like, yeah, all right. And he's doing that soulful, yeah, all right. Can you feel it? He's doing this whole
Tom
little
Jones kind of thing.
And you're never going to see that again in a movie ever again.
True.
And I love the fact that they composed a band, unless this was already a band, I'm not quite sure, the Bob Crew generation.
I don't know that. I mean, I think Bob Crew is probably obviously around. I don't know if that band was put together for the movie, though.
Probably.
I love that. The Bob Crew generation makes me think there was a generation of people who were named Bob Crew.
Right.
I feel like in the 70s, for the most part, film music, like soundtrack albums, were usually dedicated to film scores without a lot of intrusion by songs. And it maybe wasn't until the late 70s, until like Saturday Night Fever, when they realized that they could sell more records by putting pop songs in them.
Right.
So then in the late 70s into the 80s, and especially into the 80s, a lot of soundtrack releases didn't even include film score material. It was just songs.
I know. Right. Yeah.
To the point where sometimes you'd be like, oh, music inspired by this film was not actually in the film, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They're trying to sell hit records, like Ghostbusters. It was a huge number one hit.
Ghostbusters, especially because when that film came out and that song by Ray Parker Jr., you literally could not go anywhere and not hear that song. I mean, it was
it haunts
crazy.
my dreams.
But also, I forgot that Ray Parker Jr. was sued by Huey Lewis and the News because they claimed that the melody was the same melody as Huey Lewis's "I Want a New Drug," and apparently Huey Lewis got a settlement from it. So
yes, he did, as he should.
So that's
wow.
But the song was.
I like both songs.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm not crazy about either. But Huey,
but it was everywhere.
Cash.
It was also the time when MTV, so you had music videos often featuring the cast from the movie being in the videos too, doing the song, because you had the Ghostbusters, Bill Murray and all the guys singing and dancing to that song in the video. So it was like just the ultimate extra promotion you got.
But that's a big one, that song.
Yeah, that's huge.
Going back to the 50s into the 60s, Bernard Herrmann, one of my very favorite composers, famously had a falling out with Alfred Hitchcock because in his score for Torn Curtain, it wasn't really poppy enough. And a lot of film scores at that time, they were introducing, like Doris Day and Frank Sinatra type songs, material. And Hitchcock wanted something lighter. So he fired Herrmann and he went with John Addison. But ironically, in The Men Who Knew Too Much, Doris Day did have a hit with Que Sera Sera, which Herrmann didn't write. And even more ironically, Nat King Cole, after Marnie came out, had a single where lyrics were added to that tune. And it's not really, I don't think Bernard Herrmann meant for lyrics to be added to the theme for Barney.
Oh,
Wow.
I didn't know that.
It's like Gene Roddenberry writing lyrics for the Star Trek theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but before we talk about the green slime, we have to go to red because Beware the Blob. Written by
Yes.
Oh, that's
Wow.
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
which is
Right.
a great song.
The original from the original Blob. Yes. You're right. That's a great pop song.
Yeah.
That's
But it's
that's
also
kind
a
of-
misdirection too, because I think that the film The Blob is way darker than that song would
Yes,
lead you
you're
to
right.
believe.
I agree, Matt. I agree.
Yeah,
But
that's
it wasn't-
interesting.
You think
Burt Bacharach wrote it,
yeah,
but
you
it
think
was
you're
credited to the 5 Blobs. Bacharach
happened
was
to
not
them?
a name back then, right? It was a one-hit wonder.
I think I saw them at Six Flags.
You didn't hear their version of "Say a Little Prayer"?
Well, I just think same as like the Green Slime song. I think in the 45 it just said by the Green Slimes, plural. Like they didn't credit Charles Fox either. So yeah.
That's
was
not
a-
right.
Talking about the words get stuck in my throat from Gargantuous. there was a single after Gamera came out. Somebody had done for the domestic US release of Gamera.
It's an English language song, right?
Yeah,
Gamera.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's
But
right.
I don't know if it was that song. I think that original 45 came out when the first movie came out. Somehow, I'm not even.
Yeah, no, you're right. I
But
think you're right.
But well, talking about Japan, I mean, we've got so many songs that came from tokusatsu films and TV shows.
Yes.
Save the Earth from
yeah,
Godzilla,
the greatest.
etc.,
Yeah.
Savior.
which is now only available. Like the only time you can hear that playing over the credits is on the VHS, because all the subsequent releases of that film play the original Japanese song.
And why is that, James? Why can't I hear my Save the Earth? I mean, I love that song.
Because I guess the original AIP dub is not what's being currently
Right.
generated.
Daniel,
find it on
you write a
YouTube.
letter or something, or
Yeah, write a
can
letter.
something like this happen?
James, I forget.
Yes.
So the song Save the Earth, is the music in the original Japanese version, is it the same music? And they
It's
just
identical.
put new words? Completely different.
Yeah.
Well, the music's the same, but the
The
lyrics.
music is the
different.
same. Okay.
So
okay.
they had to kind of write lyrics in English that kind of matched the lips movement of the woman singing in Japanese, right? So it could be very different.
It's funny because when I've seen the Japanese version and she's the woman is seen in Japanese in Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, the words are different, and I actually prefer the other version, Save the Earth. I think it's more. I think it fits the movie more.
It's a little on the nose.
Well, I like on the nose.
Yes,
I
we
know,
know.
I know.
And the singer was a singer-songwriter named Adrienne Russ, and she's actually still around, and she's
Should get
writing
her on.
songs that
We got to get on the show.
Oh
yeah,
my
we
God.
probably actually could, but yeah, interesting. And once Godzilla movies started to get more popular with kids in the mid to late 60s, and then they brought in Ultraman, and all these characters started to have their own theme songs in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Jet Jaguar, and you hear these songs in Japanese, which you never heard in the American versions.
Yeah, it's true.
I love
And
the
then,
Kamen Rider theme. but yeah, that's not like a big popular one on this side of the pond.
Well, in the South Park early episode where they brought in Mecha Streisand,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and you had this Japanese tenor off to the side singing the theme songs for every character that came up. It was like "Ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da." And then,
That's awesome.
Chef Isaac Hayes goes up to him and goes, "Is this really necessary?" Freaking brilliant!
That's great.
Oh, Daniel,
Sure.
Phantasm.
Oh,
Sitting here at midnight.
Oh yeah.
The song that Reggie's singing in the
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Bill
I love
Thornburn.
that. I
Yeah.
love that.
And then he
Yeah,
does
those
a little thing too, where he goes into the musical interlude and goes, ugh, and then they play it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Yeah,
That should have been released.
Those are folk songs. It's one of the few, probably one of the first times you heard a folk song in a horror film.
That's true. That's true.
Ah.
Are
Well, wait a minute. Psychomania. Would that be considered a folk song?
Well, yeah, I think it's
Psychomania?
Riding Free.
Oh my God, boy, that's a movie.
Remember
that movie.
George Sanders liked that song so much he committed suicide over it.
That's right. I know. No, Psychomania is my favorite. I love that movie.
Me too.
I love the concept of it. It's like these hooligans, bikers in the UK, and the leader of the gang, Nicky Henson, figures out that you can come back to life. You just have to kill yourself, but if you believe that you're going to come back to life, you'll come back to life, and you'll be indestructible. And yeah, so he does, but of course, when he first kills himself, he's dead, and his fellow bikers bury him in this amazing sequence where they bury him in a grave atop his motorcycle, and he's just kind of frozen, staring. But he's dead, and they're making like little flower wreaths and throwing into his grave. And then this guy sings this song, and the song was sung by a guy named Harvey Andrews, who was like the songwriter poet guy, but it's only his voice you hear because it's one of the secondary characters that you see in the movie, kind of sing by a tree, strumming as a guitar. It's just this Harvey Andrews voice doing it, but it's this great anthem to like motorcycle riders, and it's so great. It's like it goes, and the world never knew his name, but the chosen few know of his fame. Come join his company, riding free. It's
wow.
amazing.
Sean Sheridan's version of Riding Free.
No, that's
available
nice,
on Monster Party Records and Tapes.
It's great.
I just realized I'm completely wrong, because if you want to talk maybe the ultimate folklore song is The Wicker Man.
Got it on my list. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That whole soundtrack.
Completely driven by songs.
Yeah, and you're right.
It's a character in the movie.
Yes, you're right. All folk song. Oh my gosh, that's right. That's great. Great movie.
The Corn Rig song is the one that it's upbeat and happy, but yet it fills me with dread.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there's something about it that really feels folk horror.
That daytime horror idea.
Yes, right.
And right along those lines, The Birds, Hitchcock's The Birds, even though it doesn't have a traditional film score, it's got that song that the kids sing in the school.
Oh, yeah.
Over and over again.
Oh, my
right.
God.
Which begins to create this sense of menace.
It's funny you bring that up, because I don't think of there being any music in The Birds other than the electronic bird sound, which I hated. I thought
you hate the bird sound.
Yes, I wanted real music. I thought real music could help that film much better. And then we never find out why the birds...
you are universally wrong about so many aspects of that movie.
Just anytime anybody goes experiments in any way off the normal expected path, it's like,
Sean, sometimes people experiment. Hey, let's try this. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I can't believe I never knew that you didn't like that sound. No. I never knew you did. You wanted music to that. That makes the film so unique.
Hitchcock, what a failure!
It might have been better if at the end they said something like, "Well, if only that nuclear waste didn't get to that pond where the birds all."
Wow! Why don't you and Bird-Eye Gordon go off and make a bird movie?
Just to go off into a bit of a tangent here, Daniel, do you know anything about the history of how that was decided in Hitchcock's The Birds?
Man, this is all news to me. You're a lot smarter than me with this entire topic, I think. I really don't know how. I think that was probably just a creative decision from Hitchcock's part. But again, there's much smarter people than me who know why there is no score in The Bird.
Yeah, huh?
It was a pretty revolutionary decision at the time.
Yeah, I love it. Less is more sometimes.
Yeah. What's funny? I'm really just jumping around, and I'm terrible because I'm totally cheating by looking at the net all the time. I did the liner notes for Orca, and
beautiful score.
And of course, there is the song.
Yes,
We Are One by Carol Connors. And,
yes, I have that soundtrack on CD.
Yeah, and basically, it was kind of done without Ennio Morricone's involvement, but it's actually quite beautiful. I like the song a lot, and it really kind of gives a humanity. I always am rooting for the sea mammal.
Of course.
Really, that song really kind of makes you feel for the family that the whale is lost.
Yeah,
and it's kind of grafted onto the movie, and again, that's kind of why it's not on the release that Varese Sarabande just put out. But again, I love that song.
Yeah, it's moving. It's great. I mean, that whole score is fantastic. Yes.
tragic and operatic.
Yeah, just came out in 4K. So,
but
Wow.
yeah, that's probably why a lot of soundtrack releases don't include that song. It's probably because Marconi was not invested in it.
not happening.
Was there a thing? Was there like a trend to do that? Because when you guys were talking about Orca, I thought of the Poseidon Adventure and the morning after. It's got to be morning.
That was a big hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was. It was on the radio.
Maureen McGovern. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
And they tried to replicate it in the Towering Inferno and failed.
What was the song for that?
What was that song?
We may never love like this again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I remember that one.
Wow, I don't remember that.
I
James.
think Maureen
I'm on
McGovern
fire.
again and John Williams again.
Good Lord.
Too on the nose, Sean.
It is a little too on it. Well, on the nose would have been this.
I smell smoke.
Yeah. or hunka burning love.
Towering Inferno, the musical.
Hey,
But going back to
years ago,
Morricone,
they did it.
what?
they did a
There
Poseidon
was a
Adventure
wonderful
musical.
theater on Franklin, and it's now the
What?
Groundlings Theater. But they did like Valley of the Dolls, the musical, and I went to the Poseidon Adventure one. And it was
Oh
wonderful.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But,
I love that movie.
It's
Maybe my
fantastic.
favorite disaster movie.
Yeah, it's so great.
Probably the best disaster movie. But jumping back to Morricone, I just wanted to mention that Danger Diabolique
Oh,
This,
yes.
one of my
movie
favorite
is-
scores of all time.
Yeah.
has got this song that repeats in the movie.
Deep down.
And it's like a sexy song. It doesn't really have a lot to do with the content of the movie, but it's just a great
I think
song.
it does.
Wonderful. And evidently that entire score was lost in a fire.
I know. There's like a gray market CD out, that you can get that has excerpts from the.
It's lost.
Found,
Yeah. Lost score.
Classic warehouse fire, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's
deep-
sad.
Deep Down was released as a single, apparently, though.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think you can hear it, and you can hear it on YouTube, like in both the Italian language and English language. Like Maria Cristina Brancucci is her name. She did other soundtracks for Morricone.
Coochie in the title.
Yeah, or Cucci, I think it's pronounced that way.
Coochie in the name. That's like My Barry White, that song. That's like when I need to, fix things with the missus, put deep down on,
Deep down.
and everything's right again.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Now we're jumping all over the place. Another song that obviously really made an impact on me was Don't Fear the Reaper in Halloween.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And again, a case where luckily they got the rights to have this. And even like when the different releases in the media, they didn't have to do a sound alike song for the DVD release or something, because that's a classic song and it fits perfectly.
Yeah. I am a gigantic Blue Oyster Cult fan. And when I was in junior high school and high school, that was it for me. That band. In fact, the Blue Oyster Cult symbol, I made a stencil of that. And I would go around the neighborhood and spray paint that on stairs and walls.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
hilarious.
You're welcome.
That's you could have sworn I saw some of those around town.
Yeah, I love that band. When they strayed too far away from the harder rock sound is when they kind of lost me. But I always appreciated what they were attempting.
Well, Matt, I think I know another movie that you like, and the band that's in the movie that you love, The Horror of Party Beach and the Del Airs.
Oh my God. Yes, the Del
So
Airs.
fantastic.
Yeah. All those songs. I think
Everyone.
every single one of them, I think, happens in one scene. And it's this beach party. And I'm curious if a beach party like that ever happened in real life.
True.
People should be writing about this. This should be like a historical event. And sure, I know that was a beach party movie staple. But what I liked about Horror of Party Beach is where in the beach party movies, you had Baron von Zipper's group come in. In this movie, you've got real bikers. And
that's right.
There's an actual fist fight.
It's actually got some balls to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
As opposed to, I'm going to give him the finger. Why me all the time?
Yeah. Dangerous.
That's true.
Okay. And speaking of hoodlums, how about Class of 1984?
Well,
Ooh.
sure.
for another great Alice Cooper song, I Am the Future. That is a really good song.
That's a great song.
That's a great song. But then also within that movie is the band, a Canadian punk band called Teenage Head. And and this is the song that's played like when they're going into the punk rock club, when the Timothy Van Patten and his gang, Lisa Langlois, who was on the show,
That's right.
they go into the punk rock club and Teenage Head is playing. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't call them the hardest punk band ever, but they had a pop sound, and I love them to this day.
That's
You
cool.
know, Lisa Langlois, I gotta tell you, what the songs I literally could not stop singing in the '80s. Prom Night. Prom Night.
Oh,
Yeah.
Great
yeah.
disco songs in that movie.
Are those songs on the soundtrack like that
Yeah.
you could get?
Oh yeah, it did
Oh.
come out, and they're all
That's
the songs
cool.
there, and it's just a great disco soundtrack.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, you could talk like in the '90s, you would start to get, really, like the Resident Evil films, you'd start, getting real hardcore, industrial. And I think, again, another enormously effective song is Closer by Nine Inch Nails and Seven. I mean, that.
Ooh,
right.
Ooh,
Yes.
Don't forget that.
That's
You're
scary
right.
music.
The lyrics of
Yeah.
F You Like an Animal.
Boy.
I mean, it's the imagery. It just talk about a song that just totally just like claws right in you.
Which kind of
yeah.
fits. Yeah, fits that movie.
That is a great choice.
Yeah.
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 Or
That's
even
true.
Cruising, which I consider a slasher film, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's an amazing collection of like punk and hardcore that Jack Nietzsche and Friedkin put together. It's incredible.
I saw that. I think I saw it once. I'm trying to remember the music because it was at a very. I mean, wasn't there more like disco stuff in it, or
Well,
like
the
techno?
thing was is that in the actual gay clubs they listened to disco, but Friedkin didn't want that. He wanted something harder. So like, you have like Darby Crash,
Sure, from the Germs.
in the Germs. So it's like a collection of all these amazing kind of late '70s punk.
Huh.
And I think Cruising just came out on 4K too. I
4K,
think.
yeah.
Wow. I got to see that again because
But I have a question. So you said Jack Nietzsche did music for Cruising?
He did the underscore for Cruising, and
Wow.
he helped. And he kind of, he was like again like a genius when it came to assembling any kind of style of music, pop, R&B, whatever. And he really, him and Freakin got these incredible bands together. There's a great feature on the Arrow Blue Now It's 4 about how they put that soundtrack.
Ooh, really? Huh,
But yeah,
interesting.
that's like a soundtrack I had on repeat. I just love that soundtrack.
Really?
Well, Sean, we're gonna have to
wait
have
a
a
minute.
screen at your house. We'll all wear like black leather. And
Yeah,
jeans,
we'll do that.
and we'll have our techno music on, and hey, let's watch Cruising.
We'll have tricycles and we'll cruise.
What about
but wait a minute. You mentioned Jack Nietzsche and Cruising. Jack Nietzsche does an amazing theme song for Village of the Giants.
Oh, that's right.
The Bird-Eye Gordon film.
Yeah,
That's right. It's unforgettable. Talk about
And
sticks in your
really
head.
memorable.
Yes.
And then, of course, that movie had a bunch of other people in it. Like you get the Beau Brummels with that song, Woman, Woman. And then they just say it over and over again. And then Freddie Cannon. That's also another beach party adjacent film that is a ton of fun.
Right.
Isn't there a mean harmonica in it too?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there
I'm
is.
going to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the 60s, Matt, how about Peter Cook as Drimble, Wedge, and the Vegetation? Bedazzled. I mean,
you touched my heart.
so
just
great.
now.
Ooh, I'm bedazzled. I don't care.
I don't care. You fill
So
me
you
with
said.
inertia.
Classic.
Yeah, the music in that whole movie is great. But yeah,
Fantastic, yeah.
that one song, You Knock Me Out. I love it.
It's a great one.
I mean, if you want to talk about, disaffected teenagers, and actually one of the most beautiful songs in a horror film, I Never Dreamed Someone Like You Could Love Someone Like Me in Carrie.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The Pino Donaggio song that plays as she's dancing with William Catt in the camera.
You're right.
360. Gorgeous, beautiful song.
Yes, that's right. Well, I was thinking too, like about classic songs that you're already familiar with, put in a very different setting. Like I could never hear Singing in the Rain the same way again after seeing Clockwork Orange. I mean,
very good.
incredible.
It's true. If you're a movie fanatic, sometimes things can completely alter your, like, people say Einstein and I think Eisenstein. I can't light a match without thinking of Mission Impossible, and I can't blow a match out without thinking of Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay, look, here's the thing. Okay, that did kind of tick me off because I love Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly, and I understand that Gene Kelly was really pushed out of shape because this amazing film that he did, they take the main song, which is the title of the film, and just put it in this film where it's used as like this kind of torture thing, and it's
brilliant.
I'm
What? Gene Kelly, why don't you just get over yourself for a second? Haven't you done enough in show business? You can't have one song go to maybe one of the greatest films of all time. And then after, when the movie is over, where you hear Alex say, I was cured all right, and then we go back into Singing in the Rain.
With Gene Kelly.
It's even creepier.
Yeah, it's the whole point. It's horrific, and it's supposed to fuck with you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the point of the movie, Larry.
Look, I try to, and I successfully do, I separate the two. Now, James says, oh, when I hear it, I think of this. No. When I think of Clockwork Orange, I think of when they speed up the William Tell overture, the in the little, that little high-tech thing, because it's also different. But I always think of Singing in the Rain, that tune with Gene Kelly, on the big MGM stage. And that's what I think. But
all right,
hey,
Grandpa.
I think that the song is classic enough. The movie Singing in the Rain is classic enough that it can withstand, an extra treatment in a different movie, a movie that's classic in and of itself.
Okay. So why don't we just take Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Let's put that in like the next slasher film.
Great, let's do it. I'm ready.
I think that actually has happened.
It probably has. What are the odds that the people who are really big into Singing in the Rain are going to go to the Cineplex and check out Clockwork Orange?
Well, I did.
It's like playing the classic.
Yeah, that is true.
Like playing
like science fiction.
I do.
Mr. Sandman song.
That was like in the top of my head for Halloween 2.
Halloween 2, right? Yeah. That works. I think it's kind of adding a little more texture to the idea of the boogeyman, and it's kind of like in Laurie Strode's head in a way. I mean, I think that worked pretty good.
I guess the idea is if you know your history about music, and there's something very profound when you use a tune like that is thought of as being like a love letter or just something that brings you back to another time, and it's used in this warped, twisted film. I guess, I can understand doing that.
It's kind of like playing with the different genres too.
It's not my favorite thing, though. I still like it when you have an original tune made specifically for the horror film or the horror music. So
I got a random trivia question once when I was watching TV with a bunch of stoners once when I used to test video games. And there was an oldies TV commercial on. There was a TV commercial on for oldies records. And one of the songs was Mr. Sandman. And some kid turned to me and said, James, who sang Mr. Sandman? And I, without skipping a beat, I said the Chordettes, and it was because they had the Halloween 2 album. And he thought I was like Rain Man.
I mean, if you're talking about like an original song, for the most part, original, like The Lost Boys is another emblematic film of the 80s where there's so many great songs in that film.
I'm out. I'm out.
Oh, come on.
No, but they fit that.
I hate that fucking movie. And I hate that. I really hate the song with the bodybuilder guy who's like, that constantly.
You mean the saxophone guy? The saxophone guy?
There's like there's like a big muscular guy doing some sort of
the saxophone
rock song. Yeah.
The Saturday Night Live did this great.
That guy's famous.
I hate that movie for so many reasons.
What, you don't like big guys with muscles with a saxophone? Is that what it is?
You know what? If I want that, I'm gonna go see Cruisin'.
Exactly.
I mean, God, Cry Little Sister, such a great song.
I will say this really quickly, kind of off topic a little bit, but that guy, that's his real claim to fame, and he goes to autograph shows with this saxophone, and he signs. That's basically that sequence, that scene in that film.
I don't blame him.
No. Hey, if that was
I do like Lollipop. Isn't that in Lost Boys?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so.
Lollipop.
I think so.
It's in Stand By Me also.
Is it? Maybe
Okay.
I'm getting them
Yeah.
confused. Oh God, I can't think of the song that's in Lost
It's probably
Boys.
in several. Yeah.
But it's I don't think it's Lollipop. It's another one.
Yeah, I'm trawling through my my songs because I'm just can't think of anything to save my life. But No More Mr. Nice Guy and Shocker, another great metal songs.
There you go.
Hitting in the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, and we had Michael Jackson's Ben for the Willard sequel.
Yeah, that's right. And that was a hit song too.
It was Oscar nominated. Michael Jackson sang it on the Oscars.
Can you believe that? Oscar named a song for a rat movie.
A rat movie like
and a
nobody
sequel.
saw. Yeah.
Yeah,
It would have been great
nuts.
if while Michael Jackson was singing the song at the Oscars, the camera went to like a seat where there was just a rat in a tux.
Or maybe a vampire movie. Maybe a vampire movie you like better. Come to Me in Fright Night is great, and all the songs. Fright Night's got a ton of great songs.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the
Fright
disco
Night.
stuff is great, and they put out a whole album of the songs as well. Before I did the liner notes for the Brad Fidel underscore, and again that uses the song as a major theme in the score as well.
That's cool.
The title song is great.
That I like.
Fright Night. That's the only lyric I know, but Fright Night.
Well, I just say, speaking of 80s too, Cat People. David Bowie putting out the fire. Yeah, Giorgio Moroder music and a great song by David Bowie, which became a hit also.
And was written for the film, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe so.
Yes.
And I remember the only way I could see that film was my older brother had to take us because we weren't old enough. And of course, we didn't know it was like so sexual and stuff. But at the end of the film, my older brother's like, those songs were so stupid. I go, well, those were cool. And he goes, what? Cat people. And there is no song that says cat people. But, that's life with older brothers, I guess.
What about The Hunger?
Oh my God, the Bell and
House.
Dead.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that opening. I like that movie a lot, actually. That opening is good.
Yeah.
The
I've seen
Bauhaus.
that opening at least 100 times, 150 times. Just
Isn't
watch that opening over. It's an amazing opening.
Agree. It's so great. And that song is fantastic. Yeah. That's a good one.
Very haunting.
Tarantino used the Bowie Putting Out the Fire song in Inglourious Bastards.
Yep.
Right.
Famously, Tarantino likes putting soundtrack music from other movies into his own movies. He's a fan, I guess.
So now, what about a song that was used in something else and then is used in another thing that it doesn't belong in at all, to the point where it becomes one of the most hated songs ever? And I am referring to the theme to Star Trek Enterprise,
Ooh.
known
The
as
TV series.
Faith of the Heart, written by Diane Warren.
I didn't mind that. The little
fuck
strumming
off.
rock music. I thought it was
That's not rock music.
I never
Was it
saw the series.
was it vocal?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like this.
It was a
slow
Rod
kind of-
Stewart song.
And I believe it was, Sean, it was your wife that pointed out to me that the song was used in a different film. And I didn't know that. And
Patch Adams.
yes, Patch Adams.
Patch Adams.
Yes.
You didn't
And
mention that? I didn't remember that.
And
Okay.
I didn't know it, but since I didn't see Patch Adams, I think of that song as, well, this is for Star Trek, the Enterprise show. But I thought it was interesting that, they had all these, great instrumental orchestral openings for all the Star Treks. And here they're trying to shake things up a little bit. Like Sean, they're trying to do experiment. They're trying to do something different, trying to make it hip and happening. And I didn't mind it. I understand that they take the words out and they just started to use them.
Maybe, I don't know.
maybe in the later seasons, all I can say is that theme song made me not watch the show for years.
No.
Yes. And then finally was playing on something and I got into it. And then the song became something like, well, I can now tolerate it because I now associate it with something I like, but it's still awful. And like, why not even write a new song from Patch Adams?
Well, especially since the Star Trek TV series all had a history of great themes. I mean, even whatever you think of the TV series Voyager, it had a beautiful Jerry Goldsmith.
Yeah, no, that's a great
title.
That's a great theme,
I mean, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Next Generation music. So it was a shock that when he came to Enterprise to have that.
Apparently, when they were putting the show together as a temp track for the show, they used U2's "A Beautiful Day."
Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Which I don't know if I would have liked that better. A little better, yes.
Right.
Now, veering back into horror movies, I mean, again, one of the obviously in 1989 rings out with one of the truly great original horror songs by the Ramones, Pet Sematary.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be buried in a pet cemetery.
In a pet
When we had Denise Crosby on the show, we had her at one point sing a couple verses of Pet Sematary. We all started singing and she joined in. Sometimes life is beautiful. Here's a song from a film that I know that we all love. And that would be, how about Putting on the Ritz?
Oh, yes.
Frankenstein.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's a good idea, yeah.
Talk about repurposing a classic song.
Yeah, exactly. More people know that song from Young Frankenstein than anything else now.
Yes,
Not from the classic Clark Gable film or
Fred Astaire.
Fred Astaire.
No.
That's a famous song that was done in many films.
Or the Taco. Remember the band Taco did an 80s version of Putting on the Ritz too.
And of course, everyone knows that story where Mel Brooks, he thought this might be going too far to put that song, and it was Gene Wilder who insisted. He says, no, it's got to be there. And Mel, that was one of the times in his career where he wasn't entirely sure that was going to work. And to me, that's one of the best moments. And I mean, it's filled with wonderful moments, but that's such a great moment.
Yes, it's beautiful. That should have been a 45.
That's right.
Speaking of that movie and a band that I enjoy, for the most part, from what I read on the interwebs, the Igor line "Walk This Way," that whole scene inspired Aerosmith to write "Walk This Way."
Wow.
Really?
And that was stolen from like Groucho Marx.
Yeah, that gag went back way. Yeah, right.
Keeps on giving.
That's funny.
I'm really going to dig deep here. And another absolutely beautiful elegiac song is at the ending of Fade to Black, Heroes Die by Craig Stafford and Mark DeHunt.
Yes.
Such a beautiful song.
Yeah.
Great movie, too. I like that movie a lot.
That's another underrated film.
Absolutely.
And a soundtrack that took decades to come out.
Really?
Yeah. But Jerry Goldsmith was mentioned, and I want to come back to Goldsmith because one of the interesting things about his soundtrack albums, if not the actual films, there were songs in some of the albums and it never appeared in the films. And I'm thinking in particular about The Omen, the Piper Dreams, and half the time his wife sang these on the album. But then it's like, this wasn't in the movie. But the Piper Dreams is actually a beautiful song. And I remember being 11 years old and watching Goldsmith win the Oscar, and he referenced the title of that song in his Oscar speech.
Wow.
Jeez.
But then in Coma, the love theme actually had lyrics to it that, again, I think his wife sang, but never made it onto the original soundtrack album and certainly didn't make it into the film. And Legend, his score for Legend, there was the little sprites sang this song called Sing the Wee. And again, that score had been thrown out, but if you saw it with his original score intact, you can't forget that song. It's really annoying, but
really.
And in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Ilea's theme, lyrics were added to that, and Sean Cassidy covered it.
What?
About like 15, 20 years ago. And I don't think he ever had a hit with it, but you have these lyrics that are sort of shoehorned into a beautiful Jerry Goldsmith love theme. And there's several of them, not just for genre movies, but other movies like The Sand Pebbles. And it's kind of a Goldsmith phenomenon that I find really interesting. And I'm a fan of those songs. I enjoy them a lot. Just like
Dragon's Domain collected a whole bunch of those and put them out on an album.
Wow.
So those came out. Though you can totally get an album of those. I mean, obviously now we'll talk about the Goldsmith song, an Oscar nominated, almost as popular as Tuba Bells is Ave Satani, which is the song for The Omen. And
That's right.
Wow.
Omen,
Yeah. And that became parodied so much, and it was almost as like iconic of like a satanic music as Tubular Bells was for The Exorcist,
Yeah.
But
Again, South Park.
Right. Well, you brought up an annoying song, James. How about this one? How about the Ewok song?
Nub
nub, right?
Nub, eat
Nub,
you,
nub.
And they tried to make it better, but
I
the
thought
second version was. Did
they? Well,
the second version was so bad it made people miss Nub Nub.
Oh, did they? Oh, really?
I think so.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I thought it was. Nub is like ridiculous.
You like that,
and
that you like that, Larry. You don't like the birds, but you like Nub.
No, I didn't like Nub because I thought it was ridiculous, Sean. I really did. And so I'm watching it, and you got the Ewoks all singing, Nub, and we ate the stormtroopers, and then they do this later version for digital Star Wars. It's like, oh, we're going to put some new endings at the end of Return of the Jedi. And I thought they made it more orchestral. And I thought, yeah, okay. So James, don't you think that made it more tolerable than
I think that's the nostalgia element. I think everybody hated Nub Nub in 1983, but by the time the special edition came around, everybody was nostalgic for Nub Nub.
God, I think all the special editions, I don't even remember. Like, they're so unmemorable to me, so I don't even remember. But also you can say the Jabba's Palace then too. All the stupid songs in those. All that
Lop
garbage. It was like so terrible.
Well,
it was like it became the Muppet Show.
It bugs me. It's like you're making the scene just longer, and it's like, oh God, get to them. Getting to the Salak creature out in the desert, and let's get to that. I mean, why are we doing all the dance stuff? But yeah. And you're right, Sean. It's not memorable to me.
No.
It's I couldn't even sing any of the words. I know Nub, but
yeah, I'm sure somehow or somebody translated all that language into lyrics, but I'm not interested.
I'm sure we're going to get a letter. We're going to get a letter from that Star Wars fan and saying, Larry, don't you know that this actually means blah blah blah?
Yeah, right.
Look, I get it.
I can't wait for that letter.
I'm just saying. I would think I may be going out on a limb here, but I think most people, when you saw that sequence of the little Ewok saying Nub, it just didn't fit. It just was so odd.
You're right. You are correct.
The original trilogy, you managed to get away without any song intrusion in Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, and then finally in Jedi. Okay, now we're getting into musical territory.
The start of the dialogue. Yeah,
there is a song that I like a lot. And that's in Star Wars, the Cantina Band.
But it's not there's no lyrics to it.
There are no lyrics, but it is a good song.
Yeah, sure.
I agree with that. I give you that.
Or Bill Murray, Star Wars.
But Star. I would have preferred that to Nub Nub.
No, that's a good song.
No. I mean, if we're talking about in science fiction territory, two really great original songs. Tina Turner's music for Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. We don't need to throw in
good song.
The one that I love is Only the Living, which starts the movie, which is just great.
That's true. I like the songs better than some of the plot points in the movie. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
Right.
Well, it's kind of got a first great act, a great first act. That whole sequence.
That's what it says. Somebody said it's like two movies. Yeah.
Well, just like in life, when the kids show up.
Okay, so I know this is a film we've talked about many times, but I love it and I love the music, and it was a very different attempt at a soundtrack at the time, and I thought it worked beautifully, and that is 1980 Flash Gordon, and using
sure.
Queen.
Yeah.
I mean, and I also like the orchestral score by Howard Blake a lot, but the songs and the rock music that is throughout by Queen is fantastic, and it makes it stand out so much that film. And I think I'd read that Dina De Laurentiis didn't want to do it at first, and it ended up being in the film and working. But I think it works fantastic.
It does.
Yeah, it sets it apart. You know, the funny thing is, it's like it wasn't Star Wars. I loved all the colors and the flashiness and the music. To me, Sean, everything fit, and that music, Queen was happening. They were
yeah.
And that music was so cool, and I was excited. I mean, that whole sequence, that whole battle sequence, like,
well, it was also making a statement. Like, this is not John Williams. This is not Star Wars.
Right.
If you're expecting that, you're going to be disappointed. This is something different. So it functioned on that level.
I mean, Danielle, did you like that when it came out?
I loved it. I mean, but for me, it's all about Highlander. Well, obviously, Flash Gordon is remarkable. I mean, just the Queen songs in Flash Gordon are amazing.
That's right, but Highlander,
man, the songs in that are just amazing.
That's true. That was around the same time, right? So they were kind of like that was in their doing
pretty far apart. I mean, Highlander was like 86, and
okay.
Way after that. But again, talk about like songs that really played a huge part in Highlander, much more so than in Flash Gordon. I mean, you've got this amazing theme in Flash Gordon, and then also the ending of the film. But in Highlander, the songs are super important, driving the actual story. But Flash Gordon also does where it's like story song, where you're basically telling the story.
Yeah,
cool. It's great. So it's like opera. It's again, Gilbert or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what Queen is. They're storytelling. That's a whole genre of songs which told stories. And, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, Jesus,
right.
I mean, masterpiece.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, songs telling stories also just reminded me of the minstrel in Monty Python, the Holy Grail. And ran away.
Sure.
And along those lines, all the Monty Python, the TV show and the movies, you had Spam, you had Always Look on the Bright Side of Life from Life of Brian, you had all the songs in Meaning of Life.
Yes.
I love them.
Brilliant.
But James, I can't believe you haven't brought up James Bond.
It's on my list.
Sure.
Fantastic tradition of songs. I'm not a fan of the more recent Bond films because I don't really. It's hard for me to accept Daniel Craig and the reboot. But
I'm with you.
But the last few songs, I love the Adele song, Billie Eilish not so much, but the one before that. But all of the John Barry ones, Marvin Hamlish.
Mention some. Can you mention some for listeners who are not familiar with the names of some of them?
Well, I mean,
an all-time high wasn't that
all-time high from Octopussy,
from Octopussy, yeah. That
View to a Kill, Duran Duran, all the Shirley Bassey songs, Diamonds Are Forever, Goldfinger,
but for Live and Let Die,
Thunderbolt,
Live and Let Die,
yeah, sure. Looking so hot
for Your Eyes Only,
yeah. Although not my favorite Bond song.
Oh, really?
What is your favorite Bond song?
Yeah,
Live and Let Die.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
followed by the Barry ones.
Yeah.
Probably like Goldfinger or something like that.
Yeah, Goldfinger for me is just.
But it is amazing though when you look at all of the films, all the James Bond films. Some maybe you like more than others, but all the songs I think for the most part stand out. I think that's
for the most part, yes.
Yeah, I mean that says a lot about the franchise. I understand the franchise may be going through some changes.
Oh yes, yeah.
If you're like listening to the news about James Bond, the Bercolis are now no longer involved, right?
The Bezos years.
And the villain's lair is Amazon warehouse in Topanga.
Yeah, really.
Hey! I don't know where it's gonna go, but hopefully, wherever it goes, they will continue the tradition of having a great tune to kind of set the tone for the film.
And it's very important. It's a big part of the. Daniel, do you have a favorite Bond song?
Boy, I could go. They La La Land did an amazing job. They've been putting out like these complete Bond songs. and they put out License to Kill, and I just friggin' love the title song and the end song, the Diane Warren song, are just wonderful. But again, I mean, if you really want to get obscure, I love If There Was a Man from Living Daylights.
Yes, The Pretenders.
Oh yeah.
Song.
Love
Oh
that
yeah.
song. Yeah.
You know, if there was a man who
That might actually be my favorite.
yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even the main title, it was the end title.
It's a title.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes when I start a road trip, sometimes because I have a CD of just the Bond themes, and I put it on, it starts out with da 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 da, and then it goes into all the songs, and it's loads of fun. It's a great getting in the car and getting going. I really like that.
I can see that.
Yeah. Now, if we want to now jumping back into the horror genre, I'm the guy with the steering of the rudder here.
Yes.
Bad Moon Rising in the American Horror from London.
Of course, on my list.
Great.
And also Blue Moon.
Right.
Blue Moon, yeah.
It's from beginning to end. And the whole point of that scene is like, you're just like watching this whole boring scene of him just sitting with the song.
Yeah.
And there's barely any of the Elmer Bernstein stuff that was not really used. Just a little bit was used.
Right.
But again, that's a completely, really pretty much a song-driven horror masterpiece. But it's all the old stuff.
You're right. You're right.
John Landis really knew how to pick great songs, but classic songs.
You know, it's funny, Daniel. I had a little issue with it at first because I thought this song doesn't fit in this scene. I wanted like spooky, scary music, but it's one of those things. I guess it grew on me.
It's using songs like in Clockwork Orange. It's using songs for subversion.
Yeah.
Like literally, where nothing's
it.
happening, and you're just hearing this song, and you're getting bored, and the character's getting bored, and then you have the transformation scene.
And
Yeah.
humor.
Yeah, the build up to that is inspired.
Yeah. Also, again, we mentioned it before, but using the Harry Belafonte song "Deo" in Beetlejuice. Very
Another
clever
good
way
choice.
to very
Very
clever way
fun.
to use an existing popular song in a story-driven way. One of the most
If for
memorable
listeners,
moments.
if listeners, you haven't seen that sequence, that's a really great moment in that first film where you have the whole family sitting around the table, and then one of the main characters all of a sudden feels like possessed in a way and starts doing that song, but with Harry Belafonte's voice, and it's actually a great fun sequence.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
great.
enjoyed that.
Because
And so-
this whole kitschy aesthetic, and when you think of kind of great kitschy songs from the day, they're wonderful, but they're kind of kitschy, and it fits the design of the film in a way.
I would like to take us back to Star Trek because in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, there is a punk rock song in that
Yeah.
where there's a punk with a boombox, which I guarantee you never happens.
Yeah, right.
Hey, back in '84.
Nope, never happened. Sorry. But, he's causing a commotion on the bus and he's playing this song. And I love the song, actually, but everyone's annoyed by it. And then so you have Spock go over and give him the neck pinch and he passes out and everybody on the bus applauds. But I love that song. And I think that's the only song in that movie, right?
I think so.
And
Yeah.
isn't it true that the song was actually performed by that punk kid?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Kirk Thatcher. That's his whole thing now.
Yes.
He's like now posing with him punked out, and
Oh my gosh.
It's like he's like an accomplished effects guy, I believe. But again, he's like the sax guy. He's turned that whole.
And didn't he came back for an episode of Picard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Well, and also with Star Trek, what about The Way to Eden?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. See,
Stepping into Eden.
Matt, when I saw
brother.
that as a kid, I hated it. I was the
Me too, Larry.
Yeah, I
Me
did too. You're right.
And maybe it was, because
it's so weird
relate
now,
to the
though.
hippie guy, and I just
No,
and I thought,
no.
This is the future science fiction. This doesn't belong in here. Now I
I'm
look
with
at it
you.
in a completely different way, Matt.
It's funny, it's charming. I even kind of like the song a little bit now, but back then,
Yeah.
I took it way too seriously.
Charles Napier, right?
Yeah.
Who I believe co-wrote the song.
Really? That's great.
Yeah,
Wow.
the blonde woman who was one of the hippie gang, Deborah Downey. She wrote the song with Charles Napier.
Ah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, if you're going to talk classic science fiction, sounds of the future, you have to talk about the awesome folk rock song at the beginning of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century.
Oh,
The movie release.
I love that
the movie.
Far
I
beyond the world I've known.
The beautiful. And I
Classic.
did the liner notes for that, by the way.
Did you really?
I did
No.
for the Entrada release of Buck Rogers.
The music and lyrics were by Glenn A. Larson and
It's a beautiful song.
Makes
Stuart
sense.
Phillips, sung by this guy named Kip Lennon, who was like a folk rock. He was in a folk rock band. But what's great too about that sequence is visually is that Buck is in suspended animation, so he's kind of dreaming,
like he's dreaming,
as he's going into the future. And so you see Buck. It's kind of like a flash forward because he's surrounded by all these hot babes that he's going to see later in the movie, including Aaron Gray and Pamela Hensley and some other just kind of generic hot babes, and they're all like posing in like futuristic swimsuits on like
rolling, aren't they rolling
this
around
weird
a
like
little bit?
on this weird light, like floor of light.
Yeah.
As this song plays, and it's awesome. And that theme, there's like an orchestral instrumental version was then used for the TV series,
Which I like better.
yeah, I love the movie. And then even South Park did a great parody of it too, by the way, of the opening. But I love that. It's called, the song is called Suspension, right, Daniel?
Yeah, Sean, I love it too on so many levels because it reminds me of a very special time in television history, science fiction history, history of, hey, I want anything I can get that's science fiction.
Right,
if it's on television. And the song.
But I saw this. I saw the movie in the theater. I saw the original.
Me too. To
I
me,
did too, yeah.
it just represents the worst of science fiction.
No,
it represents the nadir of science fiction, especially on television.
No.
Because that's what we were left with. We had Star Trek, we had The Outer Limits, we had Twilight Zone, and now it's come to this.
You have to place yourself in that time
Yes,
and
in
that
that
kind of feeling.
Matt,
it was,
do you know what I
Sad,
do?
dark time.
No. Do you know what I do sometimes? Sometimes, if I'm walking in the park, I will listen to that song over and over.
Really?
And
You listen to it while you're walking in the park?
It makes me so happy. It just makes me.
I just picture you in shorts on rollerblades, just spinning around, listening to
What am I? Who am I? What will I be?
I had roller skates back then. I even thought,
I know,
get this.
I know.
You know what I imagined? I wanted to do our own little monster party version of that song.
Oh.
I wanted to film us doing
quit.
that song. That's how much I
I'm
love
out.
that song. So don't. Oh,
I'm calling Ken Daly right now.
Daniel will take Matt's place when we do that.
We should do a cover
Where I
album.
fall and crack my head open because I can't roller skate.
Okay, here's the other show around that time that I was way more fond of, but barely. And what happened to the show is it really jumped the shark early, and that's Battlestar Galactica. But
The
what
original,
about
right?
the
They have a
Tucanas?
song.
The Tucanas.
And that space.
It's love, love, love.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I forgot about.
Remember
that.
the aliens with the
three
had
mouths? Or...
three mouths and
I thought you'd like that.
I did. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I liked it because it was silly. I didn't like the song, but I
It
enjoyed.
was silly.
This is like if you gave a 4-year-old the assignment of like come up with an alien. Well, he's gonna have 6 mouths and 8 eyes, and they're gonna sing. Great, Timmy.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
My wife and I have a figure of one of those singers.
Do you
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Again-
it came in a
again-
lunchbox.
Now I find it charming. Now, again, back
Right.
then I was just way too close to all this stuff. Now I kind of laugh at it, but I can't say that they're my favorite aliens of all time.
Right. Okay.
Going back to Japanese monster movies, at the G-Fest convention in Chicago every year, they finish out the show at the end of the Sunday at the convention with something called Kaiju Confessions, which is a sing-along. And they've got all the, Save the Earth and Gargantuan, the Hanna-Barbera theme and all that. And it's a lot of fun. It's the exact same thing every year, but the Blue Oyster Cult, kids get up and dance.
Yeah.
And they always finish the whole set with the end title from Godzilla 1985, or The Return of Godzilla, which is a song that appeared on the soundtrack. It's in English, but it's sung by women whose English is not their first language. But what really makes this song remarkable is the lyrics, because it's like farewell to Godzilla, and it's sort of a love song to Godzilla. And it's farewell, Godzilla. Farewell, Godzilla. Until then, take care now, Godzilla. Take care now, Godzilla, my old friend. And it's like the whole movie was just like rampaging Tokyo. And at the end, you've got this tender love song to Godzilla. And I love take care now. Take care, Godzilla.
Well,
take care.
They do say when that in that beautiful narration by Raymond Burr when he says Godzilla, that misunderstood monster kind of a
That's
thing.
true. That's true. By the end, it gets sentimental.
It's funny when you were saying there's that song, and I'm trying to remember. I was like, wait a minute, I remember the Raymond Burr, but you're right, the song. Do 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 do.
Yes. Synthesizers again. Yeah.
Well,
remind me why Godzilla's misunderstood. I'm just curious.
He's misunderstood.
He couldn't help it. He just was what he was.
He's big, yeah. I guess just anywhere you go, you're going to cause trouble.
Maybe if they just left out a bunch of like nuclear waste fish or something, out in a big area.
Nothing to go wrong with that plan.
Then he'd go, radioactive fish, and he'd go to it and eat it. And
where can I get more of this? Oh, look at those lights over there. Maybe they have fish. Good night.
It's funny because James made this great Godzilla music and song CD for me, and I love listening to it, James, because it's amazing how many great tunes there are on that. Mm-hmm. There's one in particular. Well, actually, there's a couple I actually played for my daughter and my niece, and even though it's in Japanese, they thought it was cute and funny. There's this one where I think it's like a Christmas tune. And they actually have a sequence where they go la 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 do da da to Santa Claus and my daughter and my niece, they just thought that was funny and they would sing along and it was hilarious. But that's a great little tune.
Of course, the Mothra songs that the Twin Fairies sing.
Classic.
I think those are iconic now. Everyone knows.
Isn't that the national anthem of Japan?
No.
Wouldn't that be great if it was?
Okay, Daniel, have you ever seen The Hunter from the Future?
Oh my God, yeah, it's just horrific. It's got a great score by John Scott and the other Italian guy.
Yeah, the opening song is Red Brown running around in a ridiculous blonde wig, the caveman just running around the rocks as you play this song goes, yours world, he's the man. It's by Guido and Marzio De Angelis.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's just like, what is happening? It's like as soon as you see that, you know you're in for the ultimate cheese fest.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I now immediately like that movie more than I did.
Sean, it's been such a long time since I've seen that.
It's Antonio Margheriti, the Italian director. It's a perfect blend of barbarian movie and Star Wars. He somehow manages to put them both together. It works in a ridiculous way.
I just remember laughing hysterically when he turns the dead pterodactyl into a hang glider, and there's some lyrics
yeah, it's incredible. That's a good party film, I'm telling you.
I'm in.
So we got to see that with cruising, right? Is that what we're doing, Sean?
Perfect double feature.
Perfect.
Red Brown is in hardcore, so there's your 20th.
Right. Yeah.
That's oh my gosh! Wow,
Man,
you just blew my mind.
Party. This is gonna be a crazy party, man.
Wow.
Okay, I got one because I am a giant Jerry Lewis fan, despite him being one of the most terrible people who ever lived. But the Nutty Professor has some great songs.
Yes.
And when he's doing that old black magic has me in its spell. So if you don't know the Nutty Professor, it's Jekyll and Hyde. And I know there was a remake, but in the Jerry Lewis version, he is Professor Kelp. He's a nerdy scientist, and he turns into Buddy Love, who is, I guess you could say, like real life Jerry Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a great movie, and the songs are great, and lots of big band stuff. And I love the fact that it's 1963, and they go to like the college club, but there's no rock or anything like that. It's all like standards, and and he wins over the kids. And he sings. At one point, he is as Buddy Love, the formula's wearing off and he's turning back into Professor Kelp. So he's singing I'm in the mood for love, and he's saying, I'm in the mood for love. It's just good. And then there's a song, I don't know who wrote it, because I don't have all that information in front of me, but there's a great song in it that Jerry does as Buddy Love called We've Got a World That Swings. And it's a cool, swinging, kind of Rat Pack-ish-esque song that, give it a listen.
Matt,
it might make you smile.
Isn't there a sequence where he goes down these steps or something, and there's this like...
No, that's Cinderfella.
Oh, okay.
Which is, by the way, that
up.
scene is a work of genius where it really shows the talent that he had, which he's able to walk down a flight of stairs to music and make it almost like a ballet, a hip ballet. I mean, from what I've read, I think he did it in one take, but wow. Just don't read anything about Jerry Lewis. Just see the movies.
It's kind of like some of these heroes that we had. If you can separate the man from the art that they did, because you're right. And
what about the love theme from The Day the Clown Cried?
Oh my God! Danielle, Danielle, have you seen that? I've not seen. I missed it on Turner Classic Movies.
I missed it. I was actually in Peru when that thing.
Oh my God! So there's this documentary that just came out called From Light to Darkness. Really? But they show footage though.
So for listeners who don't know, this is a film that Jerry Lewis did. I believe didn't he fund the whole thing?
I don't know about that.
Okay, but be that as it may, he direct it?
Yeah, he did everything.
Oh yeah.
He plays like it's like a clown at like a concentration camp.
Yes.
And it's for like he has to be a clown for children, leading them into like gas chambers or something like that.
Sounds like a riot.
Well, it's I'm not really sure if it was his thing of trying to do a serious film, but it never saw the light of day.
Yeah, it's like notorious unfinished film.
Yeah. It's kind of like no one's ever seen it. But it sounds to me like a not so good version of Life is Beautiful.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or the one that Robin Williams did.
Oh, right. Was Jacob the Liar? Was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never saw that.
Now, I'm just gonna go completely. We're just going off the whole reservation. We're like customer going so far off the reservation. Now that we're talking about the Holocaust, for me, I gotta tell you that the most brilliant, not score, but song soundtrack, and for the best movie I saw last year, and it's just brilliant, is the use of Chopin in A Real Pain. It's incredible how well chosen and just what a point all the classical music by a Polish composer makes as these two, relatives are, doing this kind of planes, trains, Holocaust tour Poland. And then to me, it's one of those brilliant kind of Holocaust soundtrack movies I've ever seen.
I haven't seen
classical soundtrack.
And it's apropos because he was Polish and the airport is named after him.
Yeah. And it's brilliant. But anyways, back to genre.
Wow.
Yeah, just to be clear, that did happen. Okay.
Yes.
Now, I've heard Jerry Lewis come on an interview and just say he buried it because he was embarrassed by it. That it came out terribly. It was not what he intended, and he just disowned it. He didn't want anybody to see it.
I'm so curious though to see the documentary.
I recently watched him on Dick Cavett, and at the time he's doing the Dick Cavett show, that's the movie he's promoting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I've heard that there are things like, because in movies, he would always wear this pinky ring. And I don't know this for sure, but it's anecdotal, but that he's got the pinky ring on in the movie, which would not make much sense.
Right.
I think I also read something about that he was wearing like Italian shoes or something, which kind of maybe takes you away from the reality of the situation. But
wow.
I don't even know if that's true, though.
So slapstick of another kind comes out in this.
Oh,
yeah, really? Oh my gosh. Did that have any songs in it?
It's got a good score by Morton Stevens. Yeah, I had that album, Varice. I liked that score by Morton Stevens, who did the Y50 theme. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're back to genre.
That's genre.
Wait, we're talking about the film.
No songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We're talking about the film Slapstick?
Of
Yeah.
Another Kind.
Of the kind, yeah.
It was
Not
the Jerry
Slap
Lewis
Shot.
movie.
Okay,
Slap
yeah,
Stick.
there he wasn't that he had like big ears or something.
It was like an
Yes.
alien or something. Madeline
Kurt
Kahn was in it,
Vonnegut,
I think.
very loose Kurt Vonnegut adaptation.
Yeah.
Really loose, yeah.
Misguided. Misguided.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
how about
it's
this
one of
one
those
then?
experimental films that didn't really work out that well. Got it.
Nope.
No. How about this one then? I think most of us love this movie. I'm hoping. Spider Baby.
Oh yeah. Great.
Oh, yes.
And you've
Great
got
choice.
that great Lon Chaney Jr. theme song.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's really just him talking, but I love it. And Lon Chaney Jr. did a few songs like that. Didn't he do like Monster Holiday?
Yes.
Yeah.
And similar, where he's speaking, he's not really singing.
Yeah. Kind of like Shatner did.
Right. But that's a great movie if you've never seen it. And just for the opening credits, you got the song, and then you have a bunch of animation, and that could be a little cartoon in and of itself.
I almost thought you were going to say Spider-Man, and that leads to superheroes, which is a whole other.
Oh,
Of course, you've got the animated Spider-Man theme song, which is classic. You've got all the Marvel little animated themes, and the Neil Hefti Batman theme, Wonder Woman by, again, Charles Fox.
That's right.
Wonderful. And then you've got, like, when they do the Michael Keaton Batman, you've got Prince doing the entire soundtrack.
Really?
He had a hit with one or two of the songs.
Mhm.
But for me, it's the Batman Returns song at the end with Sushi and the Banshees that I really like.
I love
I could
Sushi
play
and the
that one
Banshees.
over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not that I
and-
even hate those Prince songs. It's just they don't fit in that movie.
No.
I agree, Matt.
They're really bad.
It just didn't fit.
Yeah.
It was really Danny Elfman's show.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, on that note, there's a wonderful new animated Spider-Man series on Disney.
I saw commercial. Is it good?
There's a great kind of new version of that. Awesome, kind of hip hop, house version of the theme.
Nice.
And the Ramones, again.
The
covered
Ramones,
it.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite
That's
version.
right.
And
That's
the Captain America Star Spangled Man that Alan Silvestri did for the first Captain America
Great.
movie. That's a good song. I'm not a Silvestri fan, but I enjoy that song.
Or the
Well,
Crow.
and then there was the Swamp Thing cartoon that really just took the song Wild Thing and put Swamp Thing in it.
Really?
I mean, if you want to talk about a really amazing song-driven soundtrack for a horror superhero, it's The Crow. The entire soundtrack of The Crow is like a seminal,
True.
example of like 90s, what was going on in the 90s. Great stuff in that.
Yeah. That movie just oozes 90s in a good way.
The decade of grunge.
Yeah.
Well, and then someone brought up, I think at one point, I think it was you, Daniel, who brought up Repo Man.
Yeah, I love Repo Man.
I mean, that's wall to wall. All those songs are great, and I would put that soundtrack in a double feature with the soundtrack to Return of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah, great.
Yes.
Yeah, good call.
I'm a big Pino Donaggio fan who did the De Palma scores, most of them, and he doesn't have a lot of songs in most of those scores, but Carrie has 2 songs during the prom sequence.
Yeah, we talked when you were disappeared. when you went through the blip.
Okay.
folks, every once in a while, James has to go to a parallel dimension.
A multiverse. It's a different James.
As long as they were
Brief.
covered, I'll listen to the show and I'll catch up.
Yeah. And then the song in the Carrie movie is "Tell It to Carrie," right? By the Romantics. I guess not.
Carry on, my wayward son.
Do you guys know the film Eat the Rich?
Yeah, I saw it theatrically.
Now, it's not a great movie, but it is somewhat entertaining, and it does have an amazing cast of all these people from the comic strip presents. You got Rick Mayo, Miranda Richardson, Nigel Planer, Robbie Coltrane, and just a whole bunch of people. Paul McCartney.
Wow.
And there are a bunch of songs by Lemmy. And the title song, Eat the Rich, is by Motorhead.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
so,
Nice.
and it's a great song. And that's one that's fun if you if you're not expecting too much, it's wild and wacky, and it involves a disgruntled employee of a restaurant taking the place over and then feeding human beings to the rich.
Nice.
Perfect for Christmas.
Matt, if you're talking like rock and roll horror too, I mean, there's Trick or Treat from 1986.
Oh, yeah.
With Tony Fields as Sammy Kerr, who comes back from the dead when his fan of his plays his record backwards. Directed by Charles Martin Smith. There's another one called Rocktober Blood. One called a really obscure slasher one called Terror on Tour, about a band called the Clowns because they have makeup kind of like Kiss with like white faces, and all the groupies and people around them are being killed by somebody. So there's a kind of fun to check out for like the rock and roll horror genre subgenre.
What's the one? I think is it Rock and Roll Nightmare with it?
Yes, the John Fasano directed one.
Is that
John Michael Thor?
Thor.
Yes, John Michael Thor, M-I-K-L Thor. Yeah,
but his band, he called himself Thor, right?
Yes.
That's one I've never seen.
That's hilarious.
Let me guess. Is it good?
Hilarious. No, it's. I wouldn't say it's good in a fun, ridiculous way.
Okay,
it's ridiculous.
Throw it on the pile with Cruising and okay.
Yes, and John Fasano also made one called Black Roses about a band that's basically demons posing as a band trying to indoctrinate innocent fans.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Frank Dietz is in both films.
There's a great porn film called Deathgasm that's really pretty darn good.
Oh, I heard that movie. Really, I love that movie.
And then there's also great. Bear McCreary did a terrific kind of horror rock and roll metal thing called The Knights of Badassdom, which is definitely in that genre, kind of in that genre.
Yeah, that's a role playing.
Yeah, but it's all heavy
film.
Heavy metal.
I am a big fan of that film.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Peter Dinklage in an early performance.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. And then we can't forget Dracula AD 1972.
Oh, yeah.
with the Stone Ground, the American band, the Stone Ground, who I believe, they appeared in that movie and that was all.
Right.
They've got two songs, Alligator Man, which is meh, and then You Better Come Through for Me, which is a little better, but yeah. Apparently, according to the interwebs, they were a replacement for The Faces.
Wow.
So I guess we're going to do it and backed out. I wonder why.
They're working with Bob Crew now.
They're working for the Bob Crew. James, they were part of the Bob Crew generation.
Right.
I mean, again, too, obviously, movies that other vampire movies that really kind of defined the era that came out with were Blade and Blade 2.
Yes.
And all the really kind of cool, especially all the Club Blood songs and really weird and interesting experimental songs were in that. And then there's a great Mark Isham score.
Yeah, I like actually all the Blade films. I think they're all enjoyable in their own way.
I like them all. The third one is my least favorite.
I still like that one, but the
second is the best one.
I agree.
Is the second one the one where they have the blood club with the blood come?
That's the first one? Yeah. But the second one.
Sales pitch. I did the liners for both of them, and from Varese Saraband, but like complete editions of Mark Isham and Marco Beltrami. But Marco Beltrami used Danny Saber for the second one, so there's this whole kind of house club beat to the second soundtrack. But again, those are heavy duty song. In addition to having great scores.
Yeah. The second one is directed by Guillermo del Toro, and it's the one where the vampires open their jaws wide.
Yeah.
It's great.
I love it. I love
the effects in those films are really good and stand up really well.
Yeah, a very nice use of practical effects and CGI.
Yes.
All Guillermo stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great, guys. This is we could go. I mean, I'm listening to all this. It's like we could go on and on and on. But this has just been loads of fun. going over, these.
It's been a blast.
It's been a lot of fun. Do you get
total pleasure reconvening just in time for a bird flu or the next? I read a bit. There's a bat COVID strain. So maybe when Soderbergh does Contagion 2, it'll have some really bitchin' songs in it.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel, you got to come back over to the house and get measles. Come on.
Oh my God. It's worth the disease, dude.
But Daniel, I want to thank you so much for being with us tonight. Now, I know you've been really busy. Can you tell us or tell our listeners what you've been working on, what's coming out for you? And
yeah, I mean, the stuff I'm going to go to, I'll pitch my site onthescore.com. And also I do a video cast called Film Music Live, which shows up on YouTube. And I do it about 2 times a month. I've got a whole bunch of great composers. I mean, the stuff that's out right now, which just came out, is, I've been really getting into doing segments for Blu-rays and 4Ks where I kind of go into the scores of the films. Again, a big shout out to Daniel Griffith and
nice.
Sure. Oh yeah,
those guys. I did a whole music appreciation for The Ghost of Mars.
Really?
Cool.
Oh, nice.
Great. John Carpenter meets Anthrax. It is the most metal of the John Carpenter scores. It makes Maximum Overdrive its bitch when it comes to.
Nice.
Those are big words.
Of me babbling about that. If you want to rob a 7-Eleven, I did a segment on the insane imprint special edition of Never Ending Story. I had to buy this damn thing, but it was worth the money. Where I compare the scores from the German and the American versions by Klaus Doldinger and George Moroder, and that's out on imprint. And
did that story ever end? I'm just curious.
It unfortunately should have ended with the first one, and Umbrella Entertainment has just announced an insane edition of Wake in Fright, a true horror movie if there ever was one, with one of the most horrifying sequences I've ever seen in any movie. And for that, I did a audio interview with the wonderful composer John Scott of Symptoms. So that's coming out from Umbrella Entertainment. And I've got some really cool stuff I am working on. And if I told you right now without it being announced, I'd have to kill you.
Oh, wow.
Right.
We deserve it.
Yeah, and in terms of liner notes, again, the Blade 1 and 2 for Perez, Hellboy 2 for Perez.
I love Hellboy too.
Yeah, me too.
An amazing score, Edge of Sanity for Entrada.
Oh, the Anthony Perkins movie? That's a nutty movie.
Yeah, it is.
Gorgeous score, most beautiful score you'll ever hear in the movie. It's just so perverse. It's unbelievable. I love it. So that's some of the stuff. And again, it's such a pleasure being here with you guys. Our
pleasure.
There in person. You're doing the Lord's work, and I'm honored to be part of this total geek out.
Thanks.
Absolutely. And you are going to come back way sooner, because we always enjoy your company, and again, you hold a special place in Monster Party history.
You do,
Yes.
you do, and
Yes.
we're always thrilled when you come and visit us at Monster Palooza as well. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yes,
We'll be
yes.
able to see you
Wonderful
again.
you guys podcast, and I can't wait to see you at the next one.
So, guys, what do you say we lift our glasses and give a toast to Daniel Schweiger and Soundtracks the Songs?
Savior.
Time for listener shout out.
Shout out.
Matt, why don't you twist and shout us out on this one?
Okay. Well, very nice. I don't really have a shout out per se, but I have a shout out to a song. How about that?
Ooh, perfect.
Apropos of our topic.
Mhm.
And the song comes from a little movie that we actually did DVD Blu-ray commentary for.
Mm.
And that film is The Giant Gila Monster.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
1959, directed by Ray Kellogg. And the song in question is called The Mushroom Song. Yes, the Mushroom Song. Remember that, guys?
Oh, yes. How can we forget?
Forget.
It's unforgettable, I guess is the kindest thing I can say. One of the stars of the film, Don Sullivan, does the mushroom song. And the mushroom part of the song, if I remember correctly, is kind of only in the beginning. It's talking about a little sad mushroom, and then it makes a kind of a left turn, and then now it's all about children laughing. or God making children laugh or something like that. So, it's this chorus. It keeps going on. It goes, and the Lord said, "What is it?" And the Lord said, "Laugh, children laugh." The Lord said, "Laugh, children laugh." The Lord said, "Laugh, children laugh." Laugh, children laugh. Children laugh again and again and again and again. But it's one of those songs where, again, when I saw it, I was a boy. And not being crazy about the movie then. And then this song comes up. I was really confused by like, what is going on in this movie? Like, who is this for? And then more recently, when we did the commentary, I fell in love with this movie for the first time, actually.
Yeah.
Like, it gave me the warm and fuzzies. And as we talked about in our commentary, that it does stand out because it shows a group of kids in a film who aren't hooligans. They're pretty nice.
Yeah,
Right,
they are good kids.
Even the rock star guy played by Don Sullivan.
Right. Yeah, it's a positive look at the youth.
So how do you guys feel? What do you feel about the mushroom song?
It grows in me. I kind of somehow now,
on you.
I get it. Looking at it now, like in the context as an adult, this obscure little low budget movie that, like you said, you watched as a kid on like late night TV, but now, beautifully restored and see it in its optimum way. It's fun. It just kind of works. It's a little time capsule.
I didn't know if it was going to be kind of like this double entendre, little mushrooms. But no, it's a straightforward, happy,
The very happy song.
Yeah. And it seems odd and funky and weird, especially when we're in a film about a giant lizard, but it's funny.
Well, when you're celebrating Blu-ray technology and restoration, you're just in it for the entire thing. And you're not just watching it on TV in Saturday afternoon waiting for the monster to show up. Now you're appreciating the little things, like the mushroom song. It's a whole new way of looking at it and listening to it.
And Don does some other songs in the film as well that are a little more rock and roll.
Yeah,
but,
a little bit.
But this is the oddity. This is the one that stands out for me because it's just so unusual. But yeah, I again, this is a movie that, as James was saying, the fact that it is now very clean on Blu-ray, beautiful print, and it looks gorgeous. And I have to say, and I'm not just doing this because we did the commentary for it, but I really do have a new appreciation for it.
Yeah, agreed.
Indeed. Well, if you're out there listening and you'd like to hear Monster Party sing your praises, you might consider buying Monster Party merch from our eBay store, which is called, of course, Monster Party Store. We've got the Monster Party t-shirt, the legendary Monster Party cap, the Monster Party shot glass, the Monster Party PPE cloth mask. And if you buy Monster Party merch and also happen to be a Patreon member, we will throw in free surprise goodies, courtesy of our good friends Jason Lindsay at Biff Bang Pow Toys and foam fabber extraordinaire Ted Haynes.
Oh, yes, yeah. Two men who make my heart sing.
So, Patreon. Somehow I think I want to say we bring it up every couple of weeks, and for some reason, I'm just blanking. I have no idea why. Maybe
because you got a song going through your head.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You got a jingle going through your head, and you just can't get rid of it.
It just blocks out everything else. So what can you tell me about this Patreon?
Well, much like a songwriter painstakingly puts together various notes to create a toe-tapping, butt-twerking melody, Patreon gathers various elements to compose a veritable rock opera of Monster Party bonus content. Now, we're talking our special audio episodes, our shows like Monster Party Masterpieces, Monster Party on the Road, and our popular Toy Time series. We also have our legendary Japan trip, video diary, behind the scenes convention footage, and vintage sci-fi and horror fiction edited by our resident Lyskarian, John Bordeaux, and more.
Wow. Well, that sounds like a plethora of goodness, and I'm in. But I got to tell you, I got a lot of catching up to do. I got like over 100 CDs with liner notes by Daniel Schweiger to buy, so I don't know if I can afford this. How much does it cost?
Well, for the price you would pay to hear Shawn Sheridan play the entire soundtrack of your Hunter from the Future on his theremin, you could become a Monster Party patron. And that price is $5. $5 a month.
What?
That is a bargain. You can't get the green slime main theme on 8-track for that price.
If that existed,
Wow.
I would kill you for it.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, I guess that you can have that for a song. I mean, I'm in. How much is it? How do I join?
Well, all you have to do is you go to patreon.com, you go to Monster Party, you click the join button, you follow the instructions, and next thing you know, you'll be as happy as Diane Warren playing her piano made out of cash.
And on that note, let's remind our listeners that we are on social media. We are on Facebook at Monster Party TV, Twitter, now called X, at Monster Party HQ, YouTube at Monster Party TV, and Instagram at Monster Party HQ. And hey, wherever you're listening to us, please take a moment and write a review. We would love to hear your thoughts, and we will read it on the air.
And not only will we read your review, we will put it to music, possibly Vulcan harp.
Ooh.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
And keep singing those movie songs.
Stepping into Eden, yeah, brother.
Nub nub, eat you, we nub nub.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Green slime.
And, there's been a lot of great music that's been created in the short time since we've had you, last on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Breaking news. Music has been created.
Yes.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of clothes been made, too. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, you've heard the theremin, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
That's not exactly a new thing.
No, I know that.
Do you?
Yes.
So, it's not too late to back out, Daniel. After this, after this banter.
No, look, you scared the man.
I didn't scare him.
You have a dog in the background there, I see.
Yeah, that's Cliff.
Hey, Cliff.
Hey, Cliff.
And love your rollerball one sheet. It's
Thank
one sheet,
you.
right?
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
That's the whoop. And that's my
Cool.
this is like a special that David Hartman, who did Phantasm Ravager, actually created that for me. My character.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
I like that one too. I like all the Phantasm sequels actually in their own way. They're all they all have their
They all have a
Pretty-
fascinating angle to them
pretty strong franchise considering.
that doesn't get enough credit.
Here.
No, it doesn't.
Let me turn another light on.
James, you know what I'm doing, right?
Having an episode?
No, it's a phantasm.
Oh,
I'm having a phantasm.
I'm having a phantasm.
That's a bit better with that.
Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you.
Palpitations.
So Matt, how do we all sound?
More importantly, how do I sound?
You sound good, yeah.
You sound yes.
You sound great, Larry. James, I can't hear you. as usual.
Ironically, we're doing
This is,
soundtracks.
I think
James can't be
This is
heard.
the 200th sound problem.
Wow.
You get I can't hear you. No. Yeah. You got to get I think you get a gift certificate now. Wow.
Uno momento.
Oh,
He has to crank up his generator or whatever he needs to.
He's Teller, right?
Yeah, he is the teller of the monster party. Yes. Yeah, it's all in expressions, which comes across great on the podcast.
No. I'm just going to throw something out there. Is the microphone plugged in?
You know
Try
what?
turning it off and turning it on again.
No, sometimes the connections you put in your computer, and you think you got it, and you
absolutely
stuck it in all the way.
Yeah, it's not in all the way. Still can't hear you. Have you turned your microphone on your computer?
This is the new microphone that you're using last time, right? Do whatever you did last podcast.
Remember last time? Do that again.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
See how great Daniel sounds?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm just going to be throwing out references that.
God bless you. Somebody has to. I'm going to say this one last time. Turn on the sound. God, you need an IT department. You really do. Are you sitting on the microphone?
Look, I was going to literally start reading The Great Gatsby. In my younger, more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since.
All right, that's our show. So thanks, Daniel.
Sorry about that, Daniel.
That was great.
This was pretty good for Brain Donors Part 2.
I know, really? I know. It's like cavemen playing with a Rubik's Cube.